Okay, good morning everybody, and Chazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together a doubleheader this week, Perashat Matot, Perashat Mas'eh. Today's class has been sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael. If anybody would like to sponsor a class, you can please email us info@ejsny.org. So here we are. Perashat Matot and Mas'eh is a doubleheader, and our Perashat Matot, I would like to speak about something that we find at the end of our Perashat Matot. At the end, the Jewish people are right about to enter the land of Israel. And that means that we are at the end of Moshe's life, because Moshe does not get to enter the land of Israel. Moshe's punishment for whatever sin it was, hitting the rock or whatever the sin was exact, Moshe does not get to go into Eretz Yisrael. This is right before we enter. And this is his last battle. His last mission, his last job is to destroy Midian. And God says to him, Ahar te'asif al-mecha, and then you will be gathered into your people. Of course, Moshe does it. He destroys Midian, and they're about to divide the land in Eretz Yisrael. Beautiful. All of a sudden, we are studying Perashat Matot. They divide the land. These are the places. Sorry, I skipped the Perashah. That's why. Okay. We're in chapter 32. Umiknei Rav haya livnei Reuven livnei Gad atzum meod. The people of Reuven and Gad, those were two tribes, they had abundant livestock. So they were on the east side of the Jordan. If you have a map, or if you could picture Israel and the Jordan River, they're on the Transjordan. They're on the east side of the Jordan River, outside of Israel. They come to Moses and they say, hey, listen, there's a lot of grass over here. There's a lot of pasture for our sheep, for our cattle. And they ask Moshe if it's okay with him if they stay on the east side of the Jordan. Now, if I just stopped right here and I asked you, what do you think Moshe would say? What do you think Moshe's response would be? I mean, we saw what happened when they didn't want to go to Eretz Yisrael with the spies. We saw what happened 40 more years. Did you not learn your lesson? Are you serious? That wasn't enough. For 40 years, you didn't get it in your head how good Israel is? And look at Moshe's response. Very surprising. Moses says, it's not right. By not going in, you're dissuading the hearts of your brothers. They're not going to want to fight. They're going to feel like you're abandoning them. Time out. And then they say, no, we're going to fight. We're going to come in. And Moshe says, if that's the case, then yeah, no problem. What do you mean, no problem? What happened to Eretz Yisrael, the land of milk and honey, and it's an amazing place? What happened to all that? How is Moshe okay with this? This is a question that the commentaries are very puzzled by. How could it be that Moses makes no mentioning? Not a word of criticism. Don't you want this beautiful land of Israel? I mean, come on, was the spies not enough of a lesson? He doesn't say anything about that. Nothing on the topic. As long as you're willing to fight with us, then you're free to come back. Well, this is an amazing question. There are many answers to this question, but one thing is for sure. You see from here that the Transjordan actually retains status of Israel. You could call it Yisrael Murchevet. You could call it the New Israel or the Greater Israel. Okay, so yes, there's the original land, but even the east side of the Jordan is part of Eretz Yisrael. And what's my proof? Not my proof, all the proofs. You bring Shemitah applies in the Transjordan. The laws of Shemitah do not apply in America. They don't apply in Syria. They apply in the Transjordan. The laws of Ma'aser, the laws of Terumah. Not only that, Ir Miklat, that we read about in this week's Parasha actually. The city of refuge that somebody runs away to if he kills by mistake. We had 3 in Israel. And we had 3 in the Transjordan. So you see from all of these that it's not fully like Eretz Yisrael, but it still is part of Eretz Yisrael, and it still has status of Kedusha, and it can and should be inhabited by some of the Shevatim. And Moshe wasn't opposed to them staying there. He was just opposed, if you stay here, everyone's going to want to stay here. And they said, no, we're going to help you get well in, we're going to make sure that you conquer, and then we're going to come back. And what's very interesting is one of the psukim that they say. Take a look at this pasuk. They say to Moshe, if it's okay with you, our master. This is still in the beginning. We don't want to go there into Israel. We want to stay here. Moshe says, hey, is it fair your brothers should go to war and you guys will stay alone over here? Now, it's actually an interesting question. It is a fair question that Moshe is asking them. You know, you got your land and now you're happy, and then you're not going to help your brothers get theirs? It is selfish. What were they even thinking? Now I got my end of the deal. I got my 2 years of running the country. Now I'm going to redo the whole thing. I'm going to stop it and then we're going to re-elect. It's not fair. That's a kind of like what they're saying. We got what we wanted. We got our fair share. Now, yeah, good luck. I helped you fight. You got to help me fight. The commentaries say that actually, how did they get their land on the Transjordan? How did they get the land of Sichon and Og? They did nothing. It was all Hashem. So the Gad and Reuven, they said, listen, God's doing it anyways. So I guess he's going to help you do it in Israel too. So I guess here's where we part. Goodbye. See you later. And Moshe says, no. Maybe we got these lands miraculously, but as far as the ones in Israel, Hashem's going to want us to fight. He's going to want us to do our hishtadlut. That's in general the difference between the desert and Israel. In the desert, the man came down. In Israel, you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to work for your bread. You have to plant. You have to do things. You're going to require a higher level of due diligence. And it's true with working the land and produce, and it's true with the battles. The battles in the desert were very miraculous. The battles in Israel, not the same. And so Moshe tells them this, and they say, oh, okay, if that's the case, then we will come in. We will help you. And they say, we're going to come and we're going to fight. And then Moshe says, if you come in and if you fight, then so be it. Then you could stay. And again, if you read these psukim, I'm not going to read it to you, but it sounds very repetitive. It's a long story for nothing. It could have been much shorter. There was once, Rabbi Beryl Wine brings this beautiful story. There was once a rabbi speaking on Yom Kippur. He was giving his sermon. He was going out and going and explaining. This is the highlight of a rabbi's year. He prepares for this one Yom Kippur minute, right? 5 minute, 10-minute speech. This is it. This is what a rabbi looks forward to, right? That's the dream of a rabbi, Yom Kippur, speaking at the pulpit. This is where everyone's there, religious, not religious. This is your one chance a year to infuse any inspiration into anyone. Right? You look in the streets. I walk out of my building on Yom Kippur. All of a sudden, I realize the whole building's Jewish. Everyone's there in a suit, going to synagogue. You never know it. Yom Kippur, everyone's there. Anyways, Rabbi's there and he's delivering his sermon. And all of a sudden, there's a reporter in the back. And he's there and he's listening. And at the end of the prayers, everyone's coming to the rabbi, Chag Sameach, Yom Kippur Sameach. And this journalist, this reporter is online. And finally, he gets his turn. He introduces himself to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I heard your speech. And I just want to let you know, I'm a reporter for this big, magazine, newspaper, whatever it is. And I was listening to your speech. And I was just wondering, is there any way you could say what you said tonight in 3 minutes? Rabbi's like, oh my God, this is it. This is my claim to fame. I'm going to get 3 minutes on this huge, TV station, and I'm going to be able to preach to the world. And the rabbi's having all these chalomot, all these fantasies. And he turns to the journalists, and he says, yes, I think I can. So the journalist says, so why didn't you? If you could have given it in 3 minutes, why didn't you? What are you wasting 10 minutes for? Well, our parasha seems to be very redundant in that way. Moshe Rabbeinu, he's repeating what they say, and the parasha repeats, and then they repeat. But Rabbi Bernstein says something very, very powerful. When they say to Moshe, you know what? We're going to help you fight. We're going to go up. And then Moshe says, okay, no problem. If you do it, look at this, chapter 32, Pasuk 16. They say to him, Anachnu nechaletz chushim. Pasuk 17, sorry. We are going to arm ourselves. Lifnei b'nei Israel in front. We're going to go first in the line. Till we bring everybody to their proper settlements. Then we will come back. We will not come back till everybody is settled. And by the way, they did keep their promise. You should know. If you study Joshua, it's true. They went in the front and they helped everybody conquer. And only then, 14 years later, they went back. Moshe then says, Im ta'asun, if you do what you said, Im ta'al and you arm yourselves, and then you go and you take them, da 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 da, and you ba 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 ba. Okay, Moshe should have just said, deal. Where do I sign? Chazak Baruch. He again repeats the whole thing. Unnecessary. Okay? And the answer, says Rabbi Bernstein, is that these tribes of Reuven and Gad made a very big mistake. You see, they thought Hashem's going to fight. And then Moshe said, no, Hashem wants you to fight. So they said, okay, so I guess Hashem wants us to fight. So it's Hashem or us. Either or. And they said, we're going to go. We're going to fight. We're going to do. And you look in their entire conversation with Moshe. Va'anachnu nechaletz chushim. We're going to arm ourselves. Lifnei b'nei Israel in front of the Jewish people. But look at Moshe's response. Im techaletzu, if you arm. Lifnei Hashem. You think it's either Hashem or you? Either God does it, or you go and you do all your effort and it's going to be your success. I'm telling you, Moshe, says Moshe, it's not true. It's you do it, and remember, it's Hashem. That's very difficult. Because it's very easy for me to sit back and say, Hashem, listen, I'm going to do nothing today. I'm going to, watch some Netflix. I'm going to play some cards and make the money come in, make the phone calls come in. That's easy. And then when they do come in, I say, wow, Mizmor LeTodah, 10,000 to the synagogue. Beautiful. It's also very easy to work like a horse and do and sell. And then when I get the paycheck, Chazak Baruch Ariel, great job. But what's very hard is the combination. To do and then to remember that it's Hashem. And that's Moshe's message to them. Moshe says, actually, sorry to break it to you, it's not you, but you still need to do it. And that's the challenge of Hishtadlut that we live in. That's our challenge of needing to do Hishtadlut and yet remember that it's Hashem. And he tells them this. And then, look at what they say. Vayomer b'nei Gad b'nei Reuven. They then repeat a third time to Moshe. Our children will stay here. Va'avadecha ya'avru kol chalutz tzava lifnei Hashem. We got it, Moshe. Message, noted. We got the message. I understand. We got to do it, but it's also lifnei Hashem. That's fine. And they say, look at this. Vayomer b'nei Gad u'bnei Reuven el Moshe lemor. Chapter, again, 32, pasuk 25 now. Avadecha, your servants, ya'asu ka'asher Adoni metzaveh. We will do whatever you commanded. Our children will stay here. And then we will go in front of everyone, in front of Hashem, to the war. Ka'asher Adoni dover. Like our master is speaking. Notice, the first they said, Ka'asher Adoni metzaveh. The first sentence they said, we're going to go like you command. And then they end off and say, like you say. The reason they didn't want to enter the land, sorry, question on the side, they didn't want to enter the land is because they felt there's not enough pasture in the land of Israel. Right? Be happy. Right now, you're guaranteed 100 Don't risk it for maybe 150. You have one in the hand. Keep it. So right now there's enough pasture for us. We're going to stay here. Okay? But back to our question. Why do they say kasher adoni dover, kasher mitzaveh? The answer says Rabbi Bernstein because there's two things going on over here. There's Moshe wanting you to go fight, and they say to him, yes, like you command. But then there's the subtle message that Moshe is trying to tell them. Don't think that it's you. And on that they respond, kasher adoni dover. Like you are telling us, we got the message, Moshe. So that's one very, very beautiful point over here of a difference between the first time, the way they had it, and the way Moshe wanted them to really know it. Okay, that's one mistake that they made. And they took the musad, they took the rebuke, and they corrected. And they ended up doing, like we said, they went into Israel and everything was okay. But there is another very big mistake that they make. Besides, for God and hishtadlut and due diligence, the Pasuk says, chapter, again, 32, Pasuk 16. They say to Moses, Vaygeshu elav. They come and they say, Gidrot tzon nivne lemiknenu po. With your permission, pens for the flock shall we build here for our livestock. And cities for our small children. We're going to build pens for our animals and cities for our children. Va'anachnu nechaletz chushim, and then we're going to go out and fight for the people, make sure that they get settled, and only then return home. This should be okay, right? Moshe should be very happy with this offer, and he should sign, he should accept, he should agree. But Moshe does not agree. And let's pay close attention. Is there a change that he makes? Again, the first change we saw. The first change was Moshe added Hashem. Don't think it's only you. Don't think that it's either Hashem or me. No, it's both. Tag team. But there's another mistake that they make. And look at Moshe's response this time. Pasuk 20. If you do the following thing, and you go in front of your brothers, and you conquer the land, Benu lachem, Pasuk 24. Benu lachem arim letapechem. Build cities for your children. Ugderot lesona achem. And build pens for your sheep. Very interesting. Did you notice the difference? Rashi points out that the first time they said, Gidrot tzon nivne lemiknenu po. We will build pens for our cattle and cities for our children. The animals came first, and then the cities, and then the children. Animals, then children. Moshe repeats it to them, and he says, build cities for your children, and only then pens for your animals. Says Rashi, Hasim hayu amamonam. Bnei Gad and Reuven were too attached to their money, too attached to their animals, to their car. They cared too much. Yoter mibneihem ubnotehem, more than even their children. Shehigdimu miknei tapam, they put their cattle before their children. They put first, we're going to build pens for the sheep. And Moshe said, you took it backwards. Your priorities are all warped up. First build for your children, and only then for your cattle. Don't we make this mistake, Rabotai? How unfortunate many times our children, they do something wrong. They make a mistake. They dent the car. And what do? They broke something physical. And then we break them. And then we yell at them. And we destroy them. What are we putting first? Aren't we guilty of putting our things before our children? Remember, people, not things. Very, very important. Something happens. Somebody spills something on your shirt. They dirty your shirt. Okay. It hurts. It stinks. I got a dirty shirt now. Did they do it on purpose? They didn't do it on purpose. Yes, they can be more careful. But how do we make them feel? Huff and puff. I can't believe it. What do you do? By the time we're done, we make the person feel like zero. Make them feel like garbage. Make them feel so low about themselves. Aren't we guilty of putting our shirts before that person, before that child? If we pay attention, how many times in our lives do we maybe make this mistake? Be very, very careful. People, not things. People, not things. The Be'er Yosef, though, says something very, 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 very powerful. He says, you take a look. And anyone that has not been introduced yet to the Sefer, you must. Be'er Yosef, Rav Yosef Tzvi of Salant. Rashi brings the Midrash. The Pasuk says, Lev hacham limino, velev ksil lismolo. The wise man's heart is to his right, the foolish man's to the left. Tzadikim put their heart in the Torah, in the right things, which is on the right side. The Reshaim, they focus on the left, on the non-important things. The children of Bnei Gad and Reuven, they put their sheep first. Moshe reminded them, no, your children are first. And the Be'er Yosef says, I don't understand. How can it be that they made such an amateur mistake? You're not talking about an Amaretz. You're not talking about an ignorant person. You're not talking about a wicked person. You're talking about the tribes of Gad and Reuven that spent the last 40 years in Eretz Yisrael studying Torah under Moshe Rabbeinu. How could it be that they messed up their priorities? That they forgot that the Ikar are children? That the main thing in life, right? The main thing is spirituality. How could they forget? Who in the world? You're talking about Bnei Gad and Reuven, very important people. They forgot about Torah, about Hashem, about spirituality, about their children. They put their animal first. Who does that? Yes, we make the mistake, but you're not talking about simple people here. How could they make such a mistake? That's a question of the Be'er Yosef. And he says that the answer is phenomenal. Look what he says. You know, how do we conquer that land in the Transjordan? How did they do it? The tribes of Bnei Gad and Reuven, when the people conquered the lands on the east side of the Jordan, from Sichon, from Og, right? How did that happen? So the Pasuk says, Vayesof Sihon et kol amo. Sihon gathered his army. Vayetze lekrat Yisrael midbara. He came out into the desert. And he came to fight us in the desert. What a mistake, by the way. You never do that. You don't leave your city unprotected. But he did that. Hashem put it in his head. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says God, Ma ani matriach al kobanai. Why should I hassle my children to come out and to fight them in every one of the cities? Let me do the Jews a favor. Pulled all of the nations out into the desert. Boom, atom bomb. He killed them all. The Jews walked into the cities with a red carpet in front of them. Everything was there. Everything was ready. Ready for them to go. They literally, all they had to do, like we say in real estate, you have to go take your clothes and hang them up in the closet. Move in condition. The land of Israel, the land of the Transjordan was in move in condition. Everything was ready for them. The houses were built. The schools were built. The infrastructure was there. The plumbing, the electric, the sewerage, everything was ready for them. They had to just come in, put their clothes on. What a beautiful gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says the Be'er Yosef, now put yourself back in the perspective of Gad and Reuven. You just conquered all of these houses, apartment buildings, homes, cities, everything. Now, are there any houses that you need to build? You don't need to build a house. The house is built. You don't need to start building schools. They're already there. They're up. What do you need to build? You got to build for your cattle because they had a lot more. You got to build for your sheep, pens, all these things. So they said, Moshe, with all due respect, I think it makes sense We're going to first build for our pens, for our sheep, for livestock, for the cattle. Because that's what needs building. The rest doesn't need. The rest is already up. That's why they first placed the animals. That's amazing. So then what's Moshe telling them? Why is Moshe upset? If they already have it up, then Moshe should be okay with that. Then you're right. So their priorities weren't wrong. They didn't place the animals before their kids. Their kids were taken care of. Their kids had the houses. So what's Moshe's rebuke to them? Oh, your priorities are all backwards. You put your sheep before your children. Yeah, because I had a reason to. The house is already built for them. The school's are ready. I didn't need to do anything further for my child. The sheep I have to do. And this is Moshe's criticism. On this comes Moshe. Listen well, Rabotai. I need you to stop what you're doing and to listen to this, please. Unless you're taking notes. On this comes Moshe. And he says, you're making a very big mistake. If you think it's enough that you have physical houses for your children, and your obligation as a father or mother is now done, you are making a very big mistake. Part of being a parent is not only the welfare of your child physically, but even more important, their spiritual success. What do you think is in all of these houses? What do you think are in these schools? You think they have Sefrei Torah? You think they have Chumashim? You think they have Israeli flags? You know what they have over there? They're filled with Avodah Zarah. They're filled with immorality. They're filled with Tum'ah. They're filled with statues. Yes, there's a roof on the head for no rain. Yes, there's 4 walls to protect them from the winds. Yes, there's food to eat. But how about the neshama? How about the souls of your children? Your obligation is not done just because you provided. What a battle today for parents, yes. Unfortunately, many parents make this mistake. They think and they look back and they're very proud of themselves. Chazak Baruch. I did well. No, honey? We did good. We gave our children the best extracurricular, the best tutors. We gave them a house. They never were missing food. They were able to go away twice a year. They were able to afford a sleepaway camp. We were able to put them through college, through university. Whatever they wanted, a car at 18. Good, no? We did well? Depends. If that's all you think is important as a father or mother, then you have failed. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's message to them. It's not enough that you have houses there to live in. You can't start with the sheep now because they have where to live. That's not enough. You still have to build them. Build them up even more. What do you mean? They're built, they're up. Nope. Spiritually, they're not. Not enough to have a house. Your children need a home. Are our homes conducive to spirituality? What are we allowing in the house? What are our children exposed to? Is our house a place that our children can grow up in? Happy, alive. What's the temperature? What's the vibe? What's the energy? What's the feeling? Is it a house of Torah? Is it a house of Chesed? Is it a house of mitzvot? What are our children noticing in the house? What are we promoting in our houses? Are we making sure that we are pushing? I'll tell you a beautiful story. Remember I told you last week about the boy coming back from Israel? And he was very nervous. What's going to be? How's it going to? Well, let me tell you something. I'm very proud. His parents, he told me, I came home from Israel, I got home, and my mom had 3 things waiting for me on my bed. A plata for Shabbat, a Shabbat lamp, and a Netilat Yadayim cup. How beautiful. Bravo to this mother. Not so proud of the direction maybe that her son is going in. to the extreme. She wouldn't where you want that. You're a little bit going too fast for me, honey. Slow down. I don't know that I want all of that for you. Yeah, I'm nervous. You're going to become blackhead. You're going to become, you could go to a dance. You could go to parties. Nothing wrong, honey. But she made sure this is what he wants. I'm going to prepare my house to be a house of Torah. That's phenomenal parenting. Are we doing that with our children? Are we doing that, making sure that the house is a place that they will grow up in and be proud to be Jewish? Do they understand what Judaism is? We make sure that our children know politics. We make sure that our children know how to succeed in the world, how to make money. The world's a dangerous place, son. There's going to be a lot of hard things out there for you. You're going to need to make sure that you're a shark. You want to succeed? You need to go to get a good college education. All true statements. All of that is true. But we need to make sure that the houses are livable spiritually. Our kids can get very influenced. Let me tell you something. Okay? I would hold it, but I'm recording from it. Every one of our children has a phone today. Phones are so dangerous. I'm not saying they shouldn't have it, but they could access the world. The entire world is accessible. Whatever you teach them in the house, whatever your values are, or used to be, we grew up in a house, our parents, whatever they taught us, is what we knew. That's all we knew from our home. What else are we going to be taught? We don't have access to the world. Today, whatever you say, they could read the exact opposite. In the bathroom, while making, they're there, they read something completely counter to what we've been teaching them for the last 20 years of their lives. Be very, very careful. Well, we're handing them a loaded gun. Are we protecting them? Are we making sure that we are preparing them for the spiritual battle that they're going to confront in the world at large? Yes, we prepare them for life physically. We must prepare them for life spiritually. Spiritually, in every sense of the word. Not only how to prepare and how to fight for all the boycotts against Israel. That's also important. How to defend the state of Israel. That's also important. But all of spirituality. Eretz Yisrael, but also Hesed, and also Torah, and also Mitzvot, and also God. We got to prepare them in all of the above. Can't just raise kids physically. At least not anymore. It used to be, they would be in the home, they would see what we did. We have to fight much harder today. That's only half. And it's not easy, by the way. It's much easier to put your child in front of the TV, let them unwind. Let them watch what they want. Leave me alone. Here's my phone. Go watch something, okay? My head's killing me. I had enough. That's the easy thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. You want to have children? You got to raise them. Peru urbu. Peru means have them. Urbu means raise them. No one forced you to bring kids into the world, but if we're going to bring them, we got to make sure we do the job right. Bnei Gad Reuven made a small mistake. We're going to bring them into the world, and we're going to make sure that they're well fed, that they have houses. Moshe said that's only 50%. Make sure you build those houses for a Jewish house. They're not livable the way they are right now. Yes, they have a roof and walls. They have plumbing. They have faucets. They have water. But how about Torah? Is there Torah in the house? Is it a place that's conducive to spirituality? They weren't bad, but for a little bit they made a small mistake. And therefore, we have to make sure that we are preparing our children. Very dangerous world out there. There's so many things that they could get influenced from. And they're going to get influenced. They're going to go out there and they're going to see it. They're going to be exposed. You can't keep them sheltered forever. And by the way, some people take the opposite approach, where they never teach them what a drug is. They never teach them what alcohol is. They never teach them what immorality is. They never have any conversation with their child. They keep them in the dark, and that's also not good. Because then when they're going to see it, they have no idea how to handle it, how to fight it. So we have to sit our children. We have to explain to them at the right age, of course, with proper guidance. But we have to explain to them all these things, these concepts, these ideas. This is what the Torah wants from us. And it starts from young. Can't wake up when they're 14. When they're 14, it may be too late already. It's already in, whatever's in. You always try, we always pray, we always fight. I'm not saying no. But it begins much younger. It begins when they're 0. It begins when they're not even born. What's going to be our approach, honey, for our children? What's going to be our approach? How are we going to raise them? How are we going to make sure our house is a place that they're going to be happy to be Jewish, proud to be Jewish. They're going to see us doing chesed. Do they see chesed in the home? Do they see happiness in the home? If they don't see happiness, guess what? Why should I want to be Jewish? My parents were Jewish, they were never happy. What does religion do for you? They need to see simchat chaim. They need to see that we're happy, that we're high on life. You gotta see it. They have to see what Torah could do to a person, what mitzvot can do for us, the meaning, the happiness, the direction. It's important to let them see it in the house. We do chesed outside, we gotta do it inside. We gotta make sure we're preparing our houses, physically, spiritually. This is the message that he tells them, and they pick it up at the end. They say, you know what? They say to Moshe, you're right. Tapenu, nashenu, miknenu, v'chol be'emtenu, yiyu sham be'arei Gilad. We're going to go out, fight for you, and we're going to make sure that we first build for our children and then for our cattle. So this is very, very important message. So this is the conversation that Moshe has with Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, reminding them 2 mistakes that they made. I'm sure there's many other lessons that we can learn. But number 1, remember, Hashem wants you to do. But you also need to remember that it's Hashem at the end of the day. When there is any success, it's only because Hashem blessed our efforts. And finally, to remember that, to remember that we are preparing our houses for our children in every sense of the word, physically and spiritually, to prepare them for the very dangerous world. The world's gone mad. The world has gone crazy. You don't need to look far to see it. Just look at the newspaper. Even the okay TV shows, even the Disney shows, even the good ones that are innocent. So scary, so dangerous. The values are not our values. We have to talk to our children. We have to make sure we know what they're watching, what they're being exposed to, what they're seeing. We got to prepare them for all of these things. And this is part of our parasha. This is the message. Remember, children, and then sheep, people, and then things. Okay, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.